So there's been this, not an elephant, a pal in the room, you may say.
Wow.
As Palworld has gone trending like crazy, right? 5 million sales in like 4 days or something. But there is a lot of back and forth on if this game is legit, if this game is a con, if this game is a fun game, if it is a complete cash grab. So I wanted to take these two beautiful men today, Chris and Marley, and get our thoughts out about this game. First and foremost, what is your guys' personal experience with this?
I think I'm like 30 hours in to the game. I played quite
Bloody
a lot.
hell.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of palling around low key. I think right now I'm sitting it at like, if it's like a technical level, a 7 or 7.5 out of 10. Raw, like just fun, a 9.5.
Oh,
Dude,
shoot.
I think the last game I played all weekend nonstop until my eyes hurt was Elden Ring. And this game I played all weekend with buds until my eyes hurt.
Whoa.
And sometimes my eyes hurt at some of the designs.
I just started playing the night before because I wanted to be more informed rather than just looking at it on Twitter for this discussion.
The best play.
When I ended playing last night, I was firmly at a 2, and this isn't just Palworld's fault. This is all survival games. They're not fun for at least like 8 hours of the game. I got my base to like level 7, I think.
Oh, nice.
And that is when it started to click for me. So I would say now I'm sort of at like a 5.
Do you guys like those survival games like Ark and The Forest and that sort of stuff? Or is that not really a sort of game genre you play with a lot?
The only one that's honestly ever clicked for me is Lego Fortnite.
It's actually good as
Which
well.
I still play it, and it's honestly the only survival game that's ever clicked for me.
The only one that ever like super clicked for me that I just literally ran through until I had everything was the Sons of the Forest. Oh, and also V Rising, that vampire one. Those are the two that like only really connected with me.
I might be known as the Nintendo guy online, but I adored Ark, even with how awful it was. In so many ways, I loved it to bits with me and my friends. I guess they're the embodiment of like those fake Instagram app store games. You guys know what I mean? Where it's like Mafia level 1, Mafia level 10.
Now you're a mafia boss.
It's like if that game was real.
What a ringing endorsement, Mads.
There's definitely some which I think reign way better from a game design perspective. Project Zomboid and Valheim obviously is like phenomenal.
You know what it is for me? It's the second the game is like, hey, yo, your dude is hungry. I'm like,
Yo, and in this game, it's not just you who's hungry, it's you and all your little creatures.
Oh, what am I, a parent now?
First thing I did when I was loading up my world was I turned the hunger sliders in the difficulty mode all the way down to like 0.1. My dude hasn't had to eat in like a week.
They're on a juice cleanse. You put them on a juice cleanse, dude.
Oh, thanks to these new renovations, I finally have space to cook.
Wait just a second, lad! I'm Winston Cockleton, a living time machine! If my theory is correct, your cooking right now would cause a massive catastrophe!
What do you mean? Was I going to set fire to something?
Oh no! Your cooking's just shit, lad, and it pisses me off as an omnipotent being!
Okay. Shouldn't really care what other people think, but for argument's sake, I guess I'll use Factor, sponsor of today's video. Factor helps you avoid takeout and ordering in with delicious and nutritious, zero-nonsense food that's ready in a pinch. Factor's chef-prepared meals make it so easy to eat well, so you never have to eat junk food as a clutch.
Would you consider yourself annoying, lad?
Yes?
Oh, good news for you. Factor offers keto, calorie smart, chef's choice, vegan and veggie options. Fancy that, lad? Factor meals arrive pre-prepared and ready to eat in 2 minutes.
Very nice, that is.
Perfect for busy lifestyles and lazy people.
And cooking takes up so much time. Buying groceries, cooking groceries, attempting to make good food, f***ing up for food and having to eat it anyway, doing all the dishes. Cooking can be fun, but having a meal I can have ready in a few minutes that's actually decent and not takeout is great when you're in a pickle.
I'm not going to play with my food. I'm going to enjoy this. Why do I keep filming?
So what are they waiting for, lad?
Make sure to use code GetMadz50 to get 50% off your first Factor box at the link below. That's code GetMadz50 for 50% off your first Factor box at the link below. Thanks again to Factor for sponsoring this video. Oh, food! Just in my experience with this game, I've had friends play it for 1 hour and immediately refund it. But I think as you go through with this game, it really showcases that this isn't necessarily Pokemon with guns. It's more of like a Factorio, micromanagey sort of game, which works so well with that survival crafting aspect.
I think these games are really quantified, at least for me, how good they are by how quick you get like automation. Having just the general like Pokemon Arceus feel of, I gotta go walk over there and steal that thing from living. That combined with automation really quick. Like, I have not had to feed a pal since like my first 2 hours of gameplay, and I have over 20,000 berries in like a little bucket.
Wait, you have to feed them?
Yes, Ma, they always get
It's just a bunch
upset.
of corpses. And we have like farming automation, we have stone collecting, wood collecting automation, we have egg harvesting, and they're all running around doing their tasks and animations, and all the animations are like dynamic. That's where I think this game's actual creativity is tangible, because all of them having like, they have animations if they're sad, stressed, if they're in a spa, if they're hurt, if they're overworked, and all of them running around kind of like doing their tasks and like watering plants, because you'd think a watering animation would be like the Pokemon would shake around a little bit. I said Pokemon, lol. The pal would, the little Palcomon would shake a little bit and spray water. In Palworld, like the penguin shoots water out of both of his fins, and some of the creatures shoot out of their mouth. Some of them like do a little backflip and shoot it out of their tail. All of them, when you task them with watering a plant, is completely different looking. I was like,
even,
whoa.
yeah, like even with the deer, we have two of those like purple deers. I can't remember the name of them.
Not Xerxes.
Yeah.
So the two purple Xerxes, they're working on our wood farm. They bash their head into the wood to collect it.
There's a pal called a Depresso, which is very funny. It's like a sad little bear guy. If you put a Depresso on one of the like mining stations, he looks so sad. He walks up and he just like very slowly taps. And I'm like, oh my god, no.
So what's interesting to me about this game is I almost feel like the survival mechanics are at odds with the monster collecting genre as a whole, because for me, how I play these games is I want to get out there and just explore and continue moving forward in the world.
Yeah.
It almost seems like the game doesn't want me to do that. It wants me to keep coming back to my base. And that's where, like, I would say I'm probably having the most hard time with it right now, is because I'm just itching to keep exploring and just keep catching pals. But in order for me to be able to do that, I have to keep going back to this base and leveling it up. It's weird. In my mind, there's almost like this contrasting relationship between the two genres.
I think that's
Definitely.
fair. Yeah.
So a lot of people online, and I think this is most for the case for people who have yet to play the game, you sort of assume this is a monster taming game, when really it's a case of it is a survival crafting game with monster catching mechanics.
Yes.
And it's like that is
Yes,
it's
100%.
a big difference, because I think like games like Cassette Beasts, Temtem, Dragon Quest Monsters, Yokai Watch, all of those games, they're more closer in genre, whilst this is closer in genre to like art. But at the same time, like even me, I really haven't enjoyed Pokemon that much with the recent ones. Like I really liked Arceus, I loved it, but then Scarlet
Yeah.
and Violet I really didn't like. I know that's sort of like controversial to say, like I've said that to a few of my friends who are obsessed with Pokemon, and they're like, what? You're insane!
We'll go kill you! I think we're probably in good company here. I firmly agree with that. I made a whole dang dong video about Pokemon art styles and stuff. I mentioned that Arceus absolutely was my favorite Pokemon game in a minute. For weirdly enough, kind of the same reasons of what I feel about Palworld, is it kind of broke a lot of the systems I thought were like archaic with Pokemon. So
Yeah.
to Palworld, I think its touchstone to the genre is Pokemon Arceus. It's not like, you know, these kind of more linear pathways, defeat trainers that also have parties of pals, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely feels like Arceus 2, kind of.
Yeah.
So, and I get that in Scarlet and Violet.
I have a baseline level of fun with all the Pokemon games, but Scarlet and Violet, it was fun at that baseline, whereas like Arceus or Black and White blow past that baseline and just stand on their own as good games.
Yeah.
Scarlet and Violet, I actually think, have some of my favorite designs in modern Pokemon. Like, I thought the gen was actually extremely good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just the game felt bad and looked bad and ran bad. So it's like all of the love and like art designs and artists that worked on that game kicked ass.
Yeah.
So like I genuinely am not trying to say like, oh, dude, Pokemon freaking sucks now, because their design team and all that stuff is goated, and I'm always gonna be a little Pokemon chill. I'm not, I have too many Pokemon cards to ever say that I'm not a Pokemon fan.
I think the passion of the Pokemon designers is a good segue into talking about maybe lack of passion or maybe passion with the Palworld monster designs, because this is by far what is getting the most controversy, without a doubt. People are looking and comparing the PAL designs, the Pokemon designs, designs are saying that is an exact one-to-one ripoff. That is these two combined. That's that. That's this. Overall, do you guys think this is very much so plagiarism, or do you think taking inspiration but taking heavy inspiration?
I think there are levels to it. I think often with discussion, people look at things in black and white. There's absolutely some like chimeras in this game where they go like, this is 7 ideas in one.
Yeah.
This is, and sometimes it like works, and sometimes I think it border on plagiarism. There's these statues in one of the areas that just genuinely is the different forms of Palkia. Like they're just like one-to-one. And it's like, okay, that sucks. Then there's just like Pangolin, the smaller penguin. He's a little blue penguin. He's got like a red gem, angry eyes, a little tuft on his head. And people say it's like a Piplup ripoff. And the only thing that's a ripoff is it is a penguin.
And
Yeah.
it's blue.
It has completely different eyes, proportions, design elements, hair. Everything is different. It is just a blue penguin.
Or the like grass monkey trenzy, like they keep trying to say it's
Yes.
Simisage, and it's like, no, they're both green monkeys, but one is like very different.
Yeah, it's like you look at
From
the
the
round
other.
sheep and people think Wooloo, but this sheep in this game looks closer to like a Harvest Moon.
I think that the main problem is that the pals that are egregious are really
Yeah.
really
Egregious.
egregious.
Yes.
And when it gets as bad as some of those are, it becomes easier for people to lump all the designs in, or just starts training people to
Yeah.
look for similarities where maybe there aren't as many. And I think that's at the root of the problem to me, is that some of these monster designs are genuinely very, very cool, but because of the number of
The other batch.
designs that are direct inspiration, we'll say, it almost delegitimizes the hard work
Yeah.
of the creatures that aren't ripoffs,
100%.
I've come across some pals that I'm like, oh wow, that's a really cool idea, like the manta ray that you can also use as your glider. That's really cool, totally separate from Mantike and Mantine in Pokemon, but like I guarantee you, because there was Water Superior,
Yep.
there's someone playing this game who's like, oh, that pal is just a ripoff of Mantine and Mantike. Besides being based on the same animal, it's very much its own thing.
This is something which I found out whilst doing a bit more extra research this morning. I found an article of a conversation with the developers. They said that this is the first game where they haven't outsourced models. This was their learning experience of learning how to make 3D models and designs and stuff. And hearing that made me think, oh, this sort of feels like the game design version of tracing to learn.
Look at these muscles.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, it's SpongeBob. I'll put that up against a piece of glass and put a piece of paper over it and trace. Do you guys ever do that? When I was like 7, I used to get photos of SpongeBob, print them out,
Oh,
get another
yeah.
piece of paper, put it on
Oh,
top,
yeah.
and then, again, it's the corporate industry version of that. Because I feel like creativity is a skill. It's a case of taking time to do it and learning that stuff. Hearing that someone who isn't experienced, or developers who aren't experienced with making 3D models, and they're making a game heavily inspired by the monster catching genre, well, of course, these designs would seem similar.
I think Palworld partially was meant to be a sort of parody. Like there's
Yeah.
a level of like, oh, ha ha ha, Pikachu holding an assault rifle is funny. Like, I think they tried to have a line where they're like, yeah, there are original designs and there are literally like jokey, haha, almost Pokemon. And you can do that to a degree, but when it's mixed in with non-parody and really good ideas,
Yeah.
it's like, well, is this a parody or is it theft? And that can get really confusing. If they leaned into it totally and had something called, I don't know, Peek at You, and it was like, oh, Pikachu, that was a weird creep, right? Oh, it's clearly a joke at that point, but now at this point, it kind of looks like, oh, they were trying to hide
Yeah, I
it.
don't think they were trying to hide it, because I think the marketing, even from the first trailer of this game, was proving like, hey, look, it's Pokemon with guns.
Yeah, they probably expected this game to sell like 100 copies day one, you know what I mean? And when it blew up, it's now beaten Counter-Strike for concurrent players. I think no one on planet Earth
Wild.
expected this.
I think the thing going against them, if you look at the developers' other games, the one before this, Craftopia, is just a straight Breath of the Wild ripoff. Like, the enemies are like, oh, it's a bogoblin,
They're
but
bogoblins.
it's blue.
That's crazy.
When the game first came out, I saw people be like, oh, hey, like, it's sort of tacky that the pals are very clearly Pokemon ripoffs. As people learned more about the devs and their history, that's when I saw the conversation shift to like, oh no, like, these guys are just like shills.
I get like the fundamental, especially as a freaking YouTuber, I get the kind of benefit, or you kind of like look at this like starry-eyed thing. It's like, okay, this is going to be the game that gets our studio off the ground, right? And you're taking pieces that they were so popular in other games. You know, people forget that Ubisoft made a direct one-to-one kind of, you know, grab of Breath of the Wild, and it had some cool stuff for it, but it clearly was in every way heavily inspired by Breath of the Wild. Genshin Impact, a lot of people said that was a clone. Then of course it carved out its own identity. So I see these arguments, and you know, I get there's like literally with Craftopia, it was like straight up a Breath of the Wild clone meant to cash in on Breath of the Wild money.
Yeah.
I think that is totally fair to say. But I think it's also pretty fair to say that sometimes these genres spill and people can craft out their own versions of these games through it. Like I think Palworld, clearly it takes from Elden Ring, it takes from Breath of the Wild, it takes from Ark, it takes from Pokemon. If 5 years down the line they run with this and they really make it their own, I think the tune will completely change. But right now they have to change some things to make that tune change.
Yeah, and I
agree.
think that's the big thing for me. If they want to be anything more than the survival game with all those ripped off Pokemon, I need the next big update that introduces new pals to the world really divorced from Pokemon.
I just want to say before we get called out for it, they have a few designs where they totally yoinked Fakeamon from fans and Twitter and DeviantArt.
That's messed up. I don't like
don't
that.
steal from fans.
Stealing from Pokemon or stealing like, you know, Ken Sugimori's eye art style or whatever and slapping it on your own creature or whatever sucks. But stealing from a fan and Fakeamon and artist and DeviantArt, that's not okay in any way.
Yeah, screw that.
If anyone listening is developing their own monster taming game and are struggling to come up with designs, hire some people who are so passionate about it, they make their own like fake monster and stuff. That's giving work
100%.
to artists, which is great.
Yeah.
You'll get really cool designs and you'll probably get something different. You'd be able to really get a cool, unique style with it.
Look at Dark Domain that did the illustrations of the Tanuki Lab characters.
Yeah.
Style. They have made so many Fakeamon that are just absurdly creative and gorgeous.
Yeah,
and,
come on,
oh my
Palworld,
God.
hire them.
The thing with like Pokemon Company, they're very cagey on how they interact with fans. Palworld is in a perfect position here to like do the opposite of that with being the big viral success that it is. Like reach out to fans doing fan art or people in the Pokemon community that are artists and be like, do you want to design a handful of
Yes.
monsters for our game?
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Whoa, guys!
We're
Look at
fixing
us.
Palworld. We're
We
fixing
fixed
Palworld.
Palworld! Finishing there, I just wanted to quickly send you guys this image because I think it's quite funny. Is Palworld here to stay, or do you think it's a cash grab?
Given the developers' past history of abandoning their games at certain development stages, I'm inclined to say that it's here for a little bit, but not for the long term, I think.
What about you, Chris?
I don't have too much trust in them, so a few years I could definitely see happening, and then after that, who knows?
If it wasn't from the success, I wouldn't have much confidence, but because it's been so successful, they're leaving money on the table by ditching it.
It also all depends on how efficient Nintendo's Black Ops snipers are.
The last thing I want to say is 5 minutes into my gameplay of Palworld, there was a tutorial human. I threw the Pal ball at a pal and the human jumped in front of it, and with a 3% chance rate, I captured the human. And I didn't know you could do that. And when I captured the human, it said, capturing humans as pals is considered inhumane and you will be hunted down by the authorities. And my compound was raided and I was shot to death. And I think that's really funny.
Bro did human trafficking.
Would you recommend this game to someone?
If you're just someone that jumps on games and plays them for the games and you're not truly invested in like, the internal like discussions of like the art and the plagiarism and stuff like that, which is totally valid discussions to have. I think if you just truly hop on games and play them and then you don't care, I think this could totally be a fun experience. But if you really have true hangups about the morality of the art style and things like that, which again, I think is fair, I would not recommend it. I would say, hey, you know, maybe let's see what they do in a few weeks and how they respond to the criticism, and then you can make your decision, or wait until it's out of early access and then you can really make your decision.
Exactly
But if you're just
that.
playing games for the sake of playing games, it's $30 and it's pretty damn fun.
I'm gonna put any possible hangups about the thievery or lack of thievery, whatever, aside. If you like monster hunting and collecting RPGs, I would maybe say don't play it. If you like survival games, definitely play it because it feels like probably one of the more unique versions of those MMOs that I've played.
My point is, if you're scared of early access games, don't get it. But if you're fine with getting an early access game with all its bugs and everything that comes with it, go ahead. But really, it's up to you. Don't feel forced to play it, or don't feel like you have to not play it. Do your own research, make your own decision from there.
Also, if you like horny lizards, definitely play it.
Oh, yes! 100% play this game.
Did you guys know it's number 69 in the PAL Dex? I'm not kidding.
That's sick.
That's awesome. There's not enough games for the sexy reptile lovers out there.
I agree. We need more. I mean, what? Anyways, guys, thank you for coming. Chris, where can we find you?
You can find me on my main channel, Markiplier, but I do side stuff on Circle Tunes HD on YouTube and like Circle Tunes IG on Instagram.
Oh, that's pretty hot. That's pretty attractive.
awesome, yeah.
What about you, Mr. Marlon?
My channel is low-key a little dead right now, but I'm working on a big rebrand, so you can look me up, Tricky Kappa. But also our group channel, Tanuki Lab,
Tanuki Lab.
where we truly just draw the most foul and depraved things.
Yeah, actually, if
so
you like
check it
sexy
out.
lizards, go to Tanuki Lab.
Oh yeah, if you're a
Yeah.
sexy lizard lover, Tanuki Lab is the place
Tanuki
for
Lab
you.
is the place for you.